Ready? No, hang on.
Capturing the moment. Interested in how documenting the devastation produced by tsunamis and cyclones and how human suffering caused by coups, riots and terrorism impacts on worldview? Want to know how it feels to understand that your work really has made a difference and changed the world? Of course you do. You're Northern Vibers. Curiosity is your thing. Welcome to Northern Vibe. Thanks very much for tuning in. If we've never met, I'm Matt Maloney, host and founder of Northern Vibe. And Northern Vibe believes in elevating the obscure. We believe in exposing excellence. We believe in cultivating curiosity. We believe in acknowledging achievement and shining a light on uniqueness. We engage in open conversations with those harboring hidden talents, abilities, and accomplishments. We seek to understand interesting and informed people, to comprehend and appreciate motivation. Listen in, eavesdrop. Everybody wants to grow. Northern Vibe is itself growing, but we really need your help to keep up momentum. So please like and share. Please follow Northern Vibe. And we're getting some really interesting locations where people are talking from. So a big hello to Townsville. Thanks very much for tuning in. We've got some great suggestions from the comments page, so please keep them coming. In fact, Brian is a direct result of a suggestion from a viewer, and the next 3 interviews that I've got coming up are from the same too. So thank you very much to all those people. I'll be doing a brief bio for Brian, but first, the mention in dispatches. Now, Brian has indicated that he wanted to nominate that his charity of choice was in fact the Sporting Wheelies. Now, they're a great organisation. Just give me 1 second here. They provide support to disabled people to engage in sport. As you can see from the website here, support us. Several things you can do. You can donate. There's Gold Choice Lottery, leaving a guest in your will, and of course, they're always accepting volunteers. Jump on the website, have a look how to support this excellent charity that Brian has nominated. Now, about Brian. Brian was born in England and started photography at the age of 11. His soccer coach was also the editor of the local paper and gave him a run photographing soccer. So those happy snaps, along with the odd story, sent him along the path to photojournalism. He has covered, and this is not a complete list, the tsunami aftermath, East Timor refugees, George Spate's coup in Fiji, the World Economic Forum riots in Melbourne, Bali bomb blast victims, Cyclone Lowry, Cyclone Yazi, asylum seekers, the Lockhart River air crash aftermath. He has won a lot, and I mean a lot, of awards. Now, I'll cover off on his awards later, and besides proving content for this prestigious international publications, he's had besides providing content for prestigious international publications, he's had quite a few exhibitions overseas. Now, I can tell you actually from chatting to him, to getting to know him getting to know him for this interview, he's actually a really modest, unassuming person. Don't be fooled by the English bravado. He doesn't like talking about himself. And that's kind of cool. But I'm going to tell you all about his awards later, even though he specifically told me he didn't want that to happen. Now, Brian, thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much. And hello, everybody. If there is everybody out there.
Oh, they're out there. They're out there, Brian. They're out there. Don't you worry about that, old boy. So, you know.
Hope I don't call you too much this evening.
Oh no, not at all, not at all. So you know, we're already getting a bit of love out there. So that's fantastic. So mate, look, you know, this would have to be one of the most difficult interviews in some ways that I've done. And I've got to say, for totally unexpected reasons, when I first called you and asked you to agree to come on, after pumping the air, I asked what we'd cover off on, and being lazy, I just sort of thought I'd ask you a few questions and show some photos. You kind of said, when you said, well, what would cover off on, I was thinking photographs, like it's kind of what you do. And that flummoxed me. But then I got on your website and I saw just how much material was there, and I saw just how long you've been taking photographs for, and just how many awards you've won, and I got it. I thought, oh, that's kind of like ringing up Mel Gibson and going, Mate, I want to talk about a couple of movies. Any movies you've been involved in? That was kind of, that's at the level that was at. So I got that. And I spent a lot of time researching, and I really did get lost. But I think we'll dive right in to give the viewers an idea of just how important your and influential work is. Now, your work has been shown on what is the greatest, I'm just going to pull this up, what is arguably the greatest gallery there is. And that is, of course, the sky. Now, I'm going to show our viewers this. I'm going to play it. I'm going to comment afterwards. Now, what you're looking at there, viewers, is Brian's work was shown in outer space. That's the biggest gallery there is, and the work that he did, as you can see, has been taken up to a satellite and shown. It was also transmitted to Earth, and actually, like the gold record on the Voyager, these images were transmitted into outer space. Brian, that's kind of amazing. And I'm just going to stop that share there and say, how did that make you feel?
Well, number one was a very large surprise, obviously. They were selected, those three images were selected as finalists in an exhibition called Portrait of Humanity, which is a big buzz just to be selected in the first place. But then they came up with this plan. I think it would be rude to call it a little stunt, but it was definitely a plan to exhibit the works that had been selected in space. Yeah, and that was never been done before, and it was pretty exciting to be a part of it. And yeah, it did make you feel rather humble. Yeah. One in particular, the images of Carol, scarred by a fire many years ago. It was very poignant because her image being transmitted through space just occurred before she succumbed to cancer in December last year, but it's very comforting to know her image has lasted a lot longer than she has. So that was pretty cool.
Indeed. Yeah. And look, I know you want to cover off on that. We'll chat about that later with your permission. And look, I was actually acquainted with her too. So yeah, it was a terrible tragedy when we did lose Ms. Mayo to that terrible cancer. But look, oh, and by the way, listeners out there, I can see we're getting a little bit of action. If you've got any direct questions, please don't hesitate to ask. I am monitoring the question. So anything as it comes up, if there's anything you want to know about Brian, or if you've got any questions about any of the photographs as we go along, don't hesitate. I'm monitoring it. I promise I'll ask. Now, to tell you a little bit more about Brian, he's won so many awards that going back to 2016 alone would take me 4 minutes to read. I know that because I timed it. Now, that's just too long. I'm only going to read the last 2 years, 2020 and 2019. Okay. Brian's 2020 award. Budapest International Photo Awards winner, Bronze Award, Fine Art Portrait. Portrait of Humanity, shortlisted. Black and White Spider Awards, honourable mention. International Photography Awards, honourable mention. Moscow International Photos Award, honourable mention. Clarion Awards, finalist, Best News Photograph. Percival Photograph Portrait Prize finalist. Australian Photography Awards, shortlisted for portrait category. Head-on Portrait Prize Sydney, semi-finalist. 13 International Colour Awards, honourable mention. 2019, Portrait Salon, Bristol and Harrogate, England, selected for exhibition. Budapest International Photo Award, winner Editorial Award, Silver Award for Sport, winner People and Family. Portrait of Humanity, shortlisted. Moran Contemporary Photographic Prize finalist. Iris Awards finalist. Australian Photography Awards, honourable mention, ×3. Fremantle International Portrait Prize finalist. Moscow International Photo Award, second Silver Award, editorial and highly commended. Tokyo International Photo Award, honourable mention. 12 International Colour Awards, honourable mention. Head-on Portrait Prize, semi-finalist. Brian has awards going back to 1985. Now, Brian, let's dive into the work that, I know. It must seem, because I can kind of see why too. Like, I'd feel embarrassed if someone read all those things out, but mate, that's kind of cool. Tell me about, let's dive into the work that won those awards. Let's just talk. I'm going to let you sort of take it.
All right, let's get something on the screen. Hopefully it'll work.
God willing.
Yeah.
Okay, yep. I've got your screen, but not the face. Okay, blow it up, biggerize it.
That's not an image, that's a plug. Are we up there yet?
Yes.
Good. This is one of the three. Silas Womby, is it up there on the screen yet?
Yep, it's Silas.
Great. This is an image I took in Arakoon when I was up there doing a story on social issues of the township. I've made many visits to Arakoon and met many wonderful residents, and Silas was one of them, and Rebecca. This was the culmination of a shoot, a new shoot, and I did set this up. We'd taken photographs, and I noticed the grandchildren, and said, "Can we have a picture of you, the grandchildren?" Who were twins, obviously. And I forgot about this picture. I took it in about 2016, and it didn't get published. Another picture from the day got published, and I forgot about it. And I only found it a couple of years ago. I went, wow, that's pretty cool. And that's the story of that image.
Wow. Okay.
Any questions about that one?
No, nothing's popped up. Nothing's popped up.
Right, we'll get running then. This is the second image that was selected to be projected in space. This was made in India, in Chhattisgarh. I was over there doing a story on Adani, mining a forest over there containing a tribal group of people called the Gond. But this was a side job. These guys were part of a sect, a small sect, that tattooed their entire bodies to celebrate their god Rama, Ram, and that is the Indian text for Ram that they tattooed over their entire bodies. There's only about 5 living members of the sect that still are tattooed over their entire bodies, and this was one of them. Wow. I was very lucky to find them. I had the help of one of my friends in India who lives in Mumbai. He's a picture editor over there. And we went to search to find them. We're going back to try and find the others as soon as we can. And this is the third one that was projected in space. This is Carol Ann Mayer, who we will talk about more later on. She was severely burnt in a house fire as a young mother. Her family told she wouldn't survive. She suffered a year-long series of skin transplants and operations and did survive. And I'm going to tell you a lot more about her later on. And that's the 3 that were projected into space, thanks to Portrait of Humanity. Wow. And if it's any interest, I didn't make the shortlist of this year's competition with anything. There you go. You win some, you win some. Well,
I mean, do they know who you are?
Look, I'm going to have to say this right now. Most photography awards, prizes, etc., they're a lottery. You go down to the news agents and you buy a lottery ticket, you win some, you lose some. And it's very similar with photography awards. There you go.
Excellent. Okay, so I can see a photograph that looks very Hong Kongish.
It is. This is one series that I'm very proud of. I made this 8 years ago, I think. Might be more than that. I can't remember now. But you're always on the outlook for interesting stories, interesting series that hasn't been done before. And I came across this reference to cage homes in Hong Kong. And I thought, what the hell are they? I hadn't heard of those before. And there was hardly anything on the internet. But I persevered over a few months, I found out, one, they were reality. They were reality. And two, there was a charity over there which was trying to help them, advocating for them. So after months, I eventually got in touch with the charity, and they very kindly said that I could get access. Now, these people are living in cages. They're 6 foot by 2.5 foot cages. They're stacked, say, 3 or 4 high in one room. And there's sometimes up to 20, 22, 24 cages in a room.
My God, that's
the
unbelievable.
reason
Mate,
they're
can you lean a little bit closer to the mic? Thanks.
Yeah, I can. Or I can talk louder, I suppose. I don't. Yeah. So they're stacked, crowded into a single room. And the reason they're there is because landlords can make more money out of stacking cages and letting them out to those lowest social strata than they can just letting out a room. So these pictures were taken on that trip. I got access. It's not very long. A couple of hours was all the access I got, and it was really eye-opening to see the way these people lived.
Mate, how did people respond? Sorry, I've got to.
You interrupt anytime you like.
Oh, okay, and a big g'day to Adam Frew as well. Great to see you on board, bro. So, mate, how did people respond when this is a really intimate space?
It is a really intimate space.
Kind of really coming right in, and there's like, I'd imagine the ambivalence. Like if it was me, I'd think I want this story to be told, but I don't want my face all over it and to be associated with this exploitation and poverty.
Yeah, well, the subjects that I took at that time had been briefed by the charity, who obviously said, look, this is for our good. It's for your people in a similar situation. It's for their interest as well. And these guys just ignored me and went about their lives as if I wasn't there, which is what I wanted. I didn't want to be intrude. It's like the fly on the wall thing. You just go to document what their lives are about and not interfere in any way. Yeah.
See, that's the whole thing with photography. I mean, it's so like, I know this is a weird geeky thing to say, but I kind of like reading about quantum physics. I'm not going to pretend to understand it, and because a lot of the quantum physics stuff I read, people say if anyone says they understand quantum physics, obviously they don't know what they're talking about. Don't believe them. But there's this really basic idea that's central to the idea of quantum physics, that observing something is what makes it real. Because
sure.
Real
that's what photojournalism is all about. Is to make it real, to observe and make it real. It's a little bit of a maligned industry because of various people that don't do the right thing, but it's one of the most important institutions on the planet. That's right, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like a free press. It doesn't matter. A free press is important. Like you don't have to agree with what the person is showing or saying. But just at least get involved in a discussion in a way. It's fine to disagree. Wow, look at that.
He's lucky. He's got a window.
Oh my God. So, mate, as you're flicking through, do you want to tell us and give us some context about some of these photographs?
Yeah, sure. This room had about 20 cages in it. 6 foot by 2.5 foot, as I said. That's your world. I don't know how they get on together. There's no kitchen facilities, so they live on takeaway food. There is a very basic shower toilet, which you or I probably wouldn't go anywhere near. And it still costs them $250 a month.
Wow.
And out this window, this gentleman, you can see all the 5-star hotels in Hong Kong. Bearing in mind that Hong Kong's got more billionaires per head of population than anywhere else on the planet. So you've got the two extremes, from one end of the social strata to 5-star, 5-star, accommodation across the road.
Dude, look at that guy's face.
Yeah, that's his world.
Man, you caught that. You really did.
There you can see the size, the width of their cage, if you like. How they get along, I've got no idea. I can only imagine the fights. You know, one can't.
And that's it. And mate, like, you know, what about security? Like,
They don't need security. Funny enough, these places are like Fort Knox. And they're like that. They're behind very large locked doors. And they're like that because the media, the landlords, do not want you in there, do not want media in there. And they keep this because they don't want it out there that this is happening. They're making, landlords make a lot of money out of it, and they don't want the story told, or they didn't want the story told.
and what about the government over there too? Because after
There's no government regulations at all over there about this sort of thing. There's I did a later series on coffin homes, which we'll come to later, which are very similar, except they're not wire, they're solid walls. So that's the last one of this series. The bathroom is on the left there, and that's all there is to their life.
I mean, you think about the fire hazards and the idea that, like, you know, you wouldn't want to leave a couple of yuan left lying around there. Like, that's
no, you wouldn't
want to leave a packet of pot noodles lying around. That's going to go. Like,
yeah. It's
but the fire hazard. I've got to say, the fire hazard that just makes me cringe.
Several of these people were employed. I mean, you know, they had jobs, and they still could only afford to live in these cages. It was a very touching story, which got a bit of play, thankfully. Because I had a lot of expenses to recoup.
Yeah, and look, you paid for that yourself, didn't you?
Yeah. I found out the story, went and did it, and then approached media outlets when I got back with the story.
So it wasn't. How does photojournalism normally work? Like, do you know?
This wouldn't happen now. Oh, actually, that's not strictly true. It's a lot harder to do stories like this now because the return these days is not what it was in those days when I took it. It's the way the media industry's gone now. There's a great lack of revenue, and photojournalists all around the world that are taking chances and doing stories where there's a lot of outlay. You may not make back your outlay, expenditure. It's a lot. Okay.
So what's the distinction?
Which means stories like this don't get told, basically.
So I'll get you to flick over to the next one, but also it raises a couple of other queries in my mind. Like, what's the distinction between a journalist and a photojournalist? And I suppose you've half answered a follow-on question from that, like, you know, this breakup of the mainstream media, which I don't think is all bad, to be honest. It does have some positive effects, but it does have the negative effects that, you know, chaps like you, you know, aren't given the aren't resourced to go and uncover these stories. But answer the first one if I can impose on you.
Right. Well, there's not the only difference between journalism and photojournalism is words versus pictures. As a photojournalist, you get the pictures and tell the story in words around those pictures, or you do the job with a journalist. It doesn't make any difference to me, except I agonise about writing, and sometimes it's a lot more freedom to have journalists there with you. But that gets less and less likely because that's more expensive these days. So, yeah. The whole industry has changed over the years.
Okay, and this looks to me like Papua New Guinea. So I'm thinking
it's Papua New Guinea. It's a very pretty picture of paradise, and this particular piece of paradise is Manus Island. Now, Manus Island has got a bad rap in the media because of the asylum seeker situation, but it really is paradise on earth. It's one of the most amazing places that I've been to. And I've been lucky to be there. I made 3 trips to Manus Island over the years. This was from the first one. Obviously, I was covering the asylum seeker situation over there. The first trip wasn't a great success. We didn't get access to the asylum seekers or the centre. In fact, I and my journalist were ceremoniously arrested trying to get access to the Lombard Asylum Seeker Detention Centre, detained at Pistol Point for a few hours. Security then called the Admiral of Navy Base, because Lombard is part of the Navy Base. The detention centre is part of the Navy Base. And the Admiral came down and basically said, "You're very naughty boys, go home," which very much upset security, who wanted to see us much more.
Thrown to the ground, waffly centurion.
Sorry?
Thrown to the ground, centurion.
Yeah, they wanted a bit harsher treatment.
Very waffly indeed.
Yeah, they wanted to see a bit harsher treatment, that you've been very naughty. There you go. But
you want to flick over to the next one? And
Manus is a beautiful place, as I said. So that first trip, I concentrated on Manus Island as a destination. Fabulous place to be, as long as you're not an asylum seeker locked up in the detention centre. So there's a few pics of from Manus Island. A wonderful place, and I couldn't wait to get back there. This is part of life on Manus, unfortunately.
Oh yeah.
They don't waste anything. But the people on Manus, as I said, were wonderful, but they were totally split about the Asylum Seeker Detention Centre. A lot of Manus Islanders made a lot of money out of it, but the rest of the people there greatly resented it. Very cherubic, almost.
Yeah, Rubens would be.
Figure. This is the reality of Manus. This was taken on the second trip, when we did manage to get inside the Navy base and take images of the detention centre and some of the asylum seekers. I've got lots more like this, but they're all very, very, very similar, so I won't go into those. The highlight of the second trip, though, was...
Whoa, look at that photograph.
Was this asylum seeker. His name's Abdul Latif. He was 17 when first detained by the Australian authorities attempting to get into the country. And he was sent to Manus Island. He was 21 when I made this. Now, a little story about this was I met Abdul Latif. He was staying in a guest house in Manus. He'd been released into local society. It was, and he didn't want his photograph taken. He didn't want to talk about it. So he said, "Okay, Abdul Latif, that's fine. Off you go." About 4 days later, we heard that he'd been in a little fracas at the guest house. He'd been high on steam, which was the local alcohol, and him and a mate had tried stealing TVs and then nicking all the food out of the place, and had been arrested by police and security and was whacked in the watch house at Lombard, which is where I found him and where I made this picture. He was just wearing a pair of shorts and a torn shirt, and I documented him through the wire.
So, God willing, it wasn't like, not that it makes any kind of difference, but was it actually Australians running that watch house, or was it?
No, it was local police and Manus Island police, or Papua New Guinean police. I'm not sure.
Royal Papua New Guinean.
But a couple of days after this, actually a day after I made these images, I went back with a T-shirt to replace his torn one and some food for him, because they don't feed you in the watch house. I was going to pass the T-shirt and the food through the hole in the wire, and I got accosted by one of the local police officers who threatened to chuck me in there with him, which he was absolutely livid and very, almost violent. And I had to talk my way out of that one, because I was supposed to be leaving Papua New Guinea that day.
Yeah.
So,
all right, let's flick over, bro.
In fact, that's me and his and his eyeball there.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah. There you go. That's just a little aside.
That is a striking photograph.
Yeah. On the third trip back to Manus, we were there. I got there the day after the Australian government had abandoned over 600 asylum seekers in the Lombrun Asylum Seeker Detention Centre. They closed it and they left 600 asylum seekers there with no power, no water, no food, no medical facilities, no nothing. They just abandoned it and left them there. And this was, we found, we came across these asylum seekers in a local boat. They'd been into town to collect food and medicines to take it back to the asylum seeker detention centre. The only way you can do that is by boat. So they saw us and they came back and said, would you like to come with us? And I was with a journalist and we said, had a little chat. What's the ethics of this? Is this ethically okay to do this? Is it dangerous? Should we do it? And we said, yeah, we'll go. Yeah, thanks for the offer, we'll go with you. So this was on the boat from the town back to the Asylum Seeker Detention Centre. This is Izzatullah. He's a Pakistani asylum seeker. He has got a story to tell, but I don't think we've got time to tell it tonight.
No. Okay, crikey.
So when we got to the detention centre, the asylum seekers were using rubbish bins and cleaning out rubbish bins to collect water in, which from a well that they dug in the middle of the detention centre. So that's the well in the middle there, and they were filling. Whoops, gone too far. And they were filling these wheelie bins for drinking water. Can I go back now? Anyway, so water was the number one quest. Number one quest was water, and this image is of them using just drops of water to wash, etc.
Yeah, look, I do know. I've actually been to Daru, and
Daru. What's Daru?
Yeah. No, but it's Papua New Guinean, and
yeah, it's Papua New Guinea. The other a long way away. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and yes, I can indicate that conditions in the watch house there aren't the best, and it's really funny. Like you're saying, people aren't fed there. Like there was a chap I took into custody on Horn Island who'd escaped lawful custody in Papua New Guinea, and just jumped on a boat and then gone across and got a plane.
Yeah.
He was wanted in Australia, and not a bad chap actually. Funny thing to say, but he really wasn't a bad bloke. Anyway, so I went and grabbed him off the plane. I'm chatting to him, and I said, "Mate, look, what? I've seen the lockup over there. Like, what's it like?" He goes, "Put it this way, Matt. I'm happy to be here with you." Okay.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it is Sharpie. Yeah, sorry, I got a comment. Yes, Daru is. I can't use that word, Les. You know that.
This was one of the asylum seekers in amongst the 600. It struck me because of his look, his eyes. He was just sitting on the floor, and he was just rocking, and with this wild-eyed look. And he didn't say anything to me. He just sat there rocking. Sadly, you can't see the still photograph, but that's what he was doing. And so the mental anguish in the asylum seekers was so apparent.
Yeah, can't be good.
We've done that one.
Yep, we've done that one.
This is one of the sadder ones. The gentleman lying there being fanned by his colleagues had been ill for the 4 years of his detention. And not long after this photograph, they were on a bus trip into town, and he jumped out of the bus and committed suicide.
Oh, I say.
Yeah. So as I said, the mental state of a lot of these people was dire. So this is one of the saddest images that I've got. It was only about a month or two after I took this image that he committed suicide. They had no air conditioning in this place anymore, so that they dragged all the beds outside and were sleeping outside. And that's just a general view of their conditions.
Wow.
He looks rather smart, actually, this guy, but it's still a good image of the overall conditions. I like the pack of cards and the hairbrush on the right-hand side. This was what their conditions were like. It was air-conditioned, but without the air conditioners, it's just unlivable. It was like a sauna in there.
Oh, yeah.
That's them cleaning up the rubbish that the Australians had left there. This is the final image. This is Bachari, he's probably the most well-known of the asylum seekers in the detention centre. He himself was a journalist. He's Iranian, and he had to leave Iran because he feared for his safety, because he was a journalist. And whilst in detention, he wrote a few prize-winning books and a couple of prize-winning movies on iPhone, and has become something of a legend. He's actually now been given asylum by the New Zealand government. He's living in New Zealand. He's one of the lucky ones, but if anybody deserves it, he does.
Yeah,
So
I've been to Iran, actually. They are a magnificent people.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, the people themselves are absolutely wonderful, apparently. I haven't been to Iran. I'll get there one day, but yeah, I'd love to go.
Oh, no, it's one of those places where, keep flicking, bro. Mate, this is great. We're only, by the way, you know that we're down 40 minutes.
God blimey. We've only got about 100 to go. Right.
No, we'll flick through a bit quicker. It's really...
Yeah, okay, cool. Last year, year before last. Hang on. Year before last, yeah. 2020 was a write-off, yeah. Year before that, 2019, I found out that Adani, who we all know in Australia because of their attempt at mining in central Queensland, Adani were in India, one of many companies, or the major company, that were opening open-cut coal mines in Chhattisgarh, in a forest, beautiful, pristine forest that was the home of the tribal people called the Gond. The Gond had been living in the forest for generations after generation, worshipped the forest. It was their livelihood. Everything they needed to survive was in the forest. And this was how the forest looked before, and that's how it looked after Adani had opened the Parsa East coal mine, which is pretty much it. There are plans to put open cut coal mines in 80% of this forest, which is also homes to elephants, jaguars, sloths, and other wildlife, as well as the Gond tribal people. So we'll flick through a bit quicker.
A really quick aside while you're flicking through. You don't have to pause while I'm flicking.
All right.
Great. I was.
They didn't want me in there, but that didn't make any difference. That's coal trucks in outside a coal plant. These are the local Gond people. This is about as animated as they get. They seem to protest in the Gandhi style, which is just to sit there and say nothing. It's a little family on the edge of that coal mine. They used to live in the forest. That's one of the Gond people collecting grass to make baskets and other mats, etc., in the forest. As I said, Gandhi style. Some of the protesters. They really are wonderful people.
Stoic.
Yeah.
Did you used to read Biggles books as a kid?
No. I knew of him, but no, I wasn't a kid. No, I wasn't.
Well, Biggles's mate was a Gond tribesman.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
There we go.
God, I never knew that.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's what's happening in the Pastio Aran forest in Chhattisgarh, India. And this is another self-funded trip, and I sold it to CNN and The Guardian and various other places. Now, we go back to how it all began. I'm in that photograph. I'm the one in the middle at the back between the young ladies.
Oh, right.
Bess I confess I was madly in love with the one on the top left, despite the fact I was only about 11. And this was the day that I got my first ever photograph. My first ever camera, sorry. That's my mum, bottom left, by the way.
Show me the camera.
I got my first camera, and it came in the box. Hang on, I have to get rid of this now, don't I? Hang on, how do we do this? Stop share.
Keep leaning forward too. It makes it easier for you to hear. It makes it easier to hear.
Right, and this is the box that it came in.
No way.
This is it.
How cool.
2 and 6 in Woolworths, this was.
So that's it.
That's it. I nagged me mum and dad, who said, don't be silly, it's 2 and 6, it'll be rubbish. And I got my own way. And little tricks about this. Yeah, there's a penny. There's a penny.
Mm-hmm.
A real penny.
Mm-hmm.
You stick it in there and you have to twist it to open the back of the camera. Put your film in. There you go. Won't spend too much time on it, but that's it.
My gosh. And that's where it all started from. So
That's where it all started from, yeah.
what is it about photography that you like? Like, what kind of drew you into this?
I don't know. I've got no idea, actually. No idea. It just turned me on. I mean, it's...
Okay. Going back, because you've had a pretty long career. And, you started off taking photographs for the soccer and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And then you...
I'll show you... Oh, hang on, wrong way.
Right.
There's the camera. That was off the first roll of film. It's Queen Elizabeth leaving Southampton in the Solent. It was taken to the Isle of Wight ferry.
Oh, hello, Your Madge.
Yeah, and that was taken on that little camera, which cost 2 and 6. And this was where I fell in love with photography. You asked the question. This is where it happened. And I tell you what, this is a bit of a fluke because the rest of the pictures on that first roll were absolute rubbish. But I've still got the negatives, which is quite amazing. There you go.
That's a ripper of a happy snap, though. That's a really good photo.
Yeah, it's not bad, considering.
Yeah.
Now, a few years later, I progressed in cameras a little bit, and this was taken on my first ever overseas trip, which there's a little story in that as well. I had a girlfriend at the time, and we ran away and jumped on a cargo boat in London docks. It took us to Vigo in northern Spain, where we got a steam train down into Portugal. And then we hitchhiked down the Portuguese coast, staying in all the little villages and stuff. And this was taken in one of those little villages on another little camera. Hang on, let's do this again.
Let's do it again.
Do this again if I remember how to do it. Stop sharing, you have to go like that. Mouse stop share. Right, I took it on this, which is quite a progression from the other one. It's a little Agfa camera, which is pretty cool.
You watching this too, Wellwood? Sorry, I got a mate on there.
There you go. So then we go back and we do this again. We go back to share screen.
Wait, while you're bringing that up, I'm going to hit you with another question. Look, these photographs that you're showing us now are nice, but a lot of the really early ones were very traumatic. And I know you haven't shown some of the really, really terrible ones.
I'll cover that, yeah.
But mate, look, as you know, I'm just coming out of the Queensland Police Service. Mate, I'll articulate it clearly. I really have seen a lot of death, pain, and suffering. I'd suggest probably not as much as you, really, considering your career. And look, people talk about PTSD, and it's real. Look, but having said that, I want to make the quick aside that you can have what I call, because everyone's got, because people have told me that technically I've got it because I've got some of the symptoms, but I think it's you get post-traumatic stress growth too. Like, it's not all bad, the fact that
Can we leave this? Can we come back to this? Because I've got some questions.
Yes, we can.
Might be more relevant.
Yes.
Right?
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
So I'll just quickly screen for this lot. You mentioned earlier that my football coach was a pick editor of a local newspaper, and I started taking pictures of football, which is my love, and this is my team, Charlton Athletic. And these are some of the pictures I took in those early days. I'm not telling you which years they were because it will tell me too much. All right, so these are, I mean, you know, these days are black and white cameras with manual everything cameras, you know, the manual focus, manual everything, you know, and
that's a ripper.
They were a hell of a challenge. They were a hell of a challenge.
Oh, look at that.
They were a hell of a challenge.
Oh, looking at the ball, look at that bloke, he knows it's going in. That is a ripper of a snap.
This was a long time ago when you got one frame and then you had to wind the shutter.
Yeah,
so,
click
you know,
wine, click wine.
Yeah.
It's like a bolt action rifle.
These in a way, you know, these are nostalgia. They're a long time ago, and I'm not telling you how long ago. Okay? And then I came to Australia. I turned up in Cairns, and well, actually, I spent the first year in Brisbane, and then I got offered a job in Cairns. I used to work on computers as well as take pictures, and I got offered a job with the local building society. So I ended up in Cairns, and as well as working there, I started doing sport pictures for the local newspaper, the Cairns Post, as a freelance. And these are some of the early pictures that I took for the Cairns Post. That's Ivanhoe's versus, oh God, I can't remember now. Ivanhoe's versus, no, I can't remember. Anyway, it's a long time ago. We'll just skip through some of them.
Yep.
That's my favourite bowls picture, which was taken at, can you see it yet?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if, well, a
the Stratford
bit of a royal salute going on there.
That picture has been published so many times around the world, it's not funny. But there you go.
Makes me proud to be an Aussie.
Right, Dire Straits performed in Cairns in the 80s. Oh. And it was one of the most amazing concerts I've ever been to because it chucked it down really heavily for the entire concert. And the equipment was shorting out, and you know, and I got this picture of Dire Straits in the rain, which ended up in Rolling Stone, and right across the front page of the Cairns Post when it was a broadsheet. It was the biggest picture I've ever seen them run.
Wow. Rolling Stone, mate. Look, you don't have to tell me exactly, but mate, in the old days, back in the day, would you make a quid from a snap like that went across the world?
Yeah. You made, probably more in real terms, probably more than you would now. Yeah. Right. Wasn't only doing sport for the Cairns Post. When this was taken on a media jaunt to Papua New Guinea. It was a great trip down the Sepik River and in the highlands to see the Tari, up to Tari to see the Huli warriors. Which were fantastic. But this is a Huli woman that this is one of my favourite pictures of all time, and probably was the picture that was responsible for my love of portraiture.
Wow.
She got a lady. When I first pointed the camera at her, she looked at me and scowled, and then I winked at her, and she gave me that look, and you know, it just made a picture. Right. Oh. Hang on.
Imbu, when I lived
more from the early Cairns Post, but we'll skip through these. Horse racing we used to do every week. Yeah, that one a few. That was part of a series of about 6 pictures of the 4th at the starting gate.
Wow. He didn't get hurt, did he?
I broke a wrist or something, but that's about all. Bernie McAuliffe, that was him, Bernie McAuliffe. Remember that now. And this was responsible for my first ever award. I never used to enter them. And then I took this and I went, holy shit. Sorry, excuse me, I'm not listening to say that. I went, well. And I had so many people, a couple in particular, said, you've got to enter that for an award. And so I entered it for the Australian Sports Photo of the Year Awards. And blow me down, it won it, which was the biggest shock of my life.
Mate, do the modern cameras make mug photographers look good?
Yeah. This was still in the days of manual focus. And that was shot on a manual focus lens, actually a Novaflex lens, which had squeeze focus. But nowadays, you just keep your little spot on where you want to focus and off you go. But those days it was manual focus.
Wow.
So, yeah.
It really was an art.
Yeah, it was totally different in those days, and the quality isn't as good there now. But you know, that's film for you.
Yeah. We're getting a bit of love about the Dire Straits thing. Hey, Sharpie, you would have had hair back then too, I'm thinking.
Yeah, more than likely.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was fortunate in that the picture editor of one of the Wires, Associated Press of America, the Australian picture editor, liked my work, and he decided he was going to give me lots of work on big stories. And this was one of the first of those big stories. It was a tsunami in Papua New Guinea, in northern Papua New Guinea, near Vanimo. It killed thousands of people. Because I was in Cairns, I chartered an aircraft and got there first before the media pack from Sydney and Melbourne. And I got the first pictures out of the disaster area. That's one of them. This kid had a fractured skull.
Ouch.
And it's just made the deadline for the Bulletin magazine, which was a fabulous magazine. It's really sadly missed.
Yeah, I loved it. Yeah, I subscribed.
Yeah, it's a brilliant magazine. And this
Yeah,
made a double-page spread just on deadline.
Yeah. That, The Spectator, and The Quadrant.
Yeah, yeah. So another kid, it was... Right, we better get a move on. What's this one? Hang on a minute. Oh, yeah. East Timor. East Timor refugees. We'll skip through a bit faster. After the UN compound was attacked by Indonesian forces, these were refugees as they arrived in Australia, in Darwin.
Wow. Oh, man, you can just see the pain on the faces. That's just terrible.
Yeah.
The trauma they must
Not
have.
long after that, we had the Fiji Coup, which was
That's Fiji.
It's one of the most fun you can have during a coup. I'd imagine, but it was a real coup. It was people died, which isn't nice, and Fijians, parliamentarians, including the Indian Prime Minister, were held hostage for I think 56 days. I think I might be wrong there, but a long time. And I was over there I did 2 stints over there. I was over there for a total of about a month, covering the coup. This was just outside George Speight's hometown, where the rebels had taken hostage police and military, and we very kindly asked if we could go in, and they eventually took us hostage and whacked us in the police cell for a couple of hours to cool down before giving us a quick interview and telling us to get out of town. These were Fijians praying for peace.
That's a prayer meeting.
During the Troubles. This is one of my favourite pics. It's not very good.
George Speight.
Not very good there. That's George Speight himself. He's on his way to sign a peace accord with General Bainimarama, which was the biggest mistake he ever made, because after the peace accord, the hostages were released, and then Bainimarama arrested him and charged him with treason, and he's still in prison now. So he got double-crossed, something shocking. A lot of Indians suffered in Fiji. This was an Indian family who just had their house torched by rebels.
Wow.
This was syndicated by Associated Press like all the others, and went all the way around the world in some very good publications. Right, that brings us, there's a little gap now, it brings us to the Asian Tsunami. This is where you can bring in your...
Yeah.
Yeah. The the first job offer, well, I put out my feelers when the tsunami happened, and the first offer I had was from the Sunday Mirror in London, who said, get out to Phuket and find the youngest British victim. And we rocked up at Phuket Hospital, where this gentleman here, Patrice Fayette, was holding up pictures of his little baby and his wife, hoping to find them. He dismissed himself from Phuket Hospital. The story was that when the waves had come, they climbed, him, his wife and baby, they climbed up a palm tree. He's watched his wife and baby got washed away. He woke up on a beach, hence his arrival in Phuket Hospital. So we asked if we could accompany him as he searched for his wife and baby. Not only him, he asked his family as well in London, and they said yes. So we accompanied him as he searched the temple walls in Phuket for his wife and baby. And that's him opening a little bundle to see if it was actually his baby.
Oh.
Sorry if these are distressing, but they are reality.
No, it's okay.
This is some of how they process the bodies in the morgue. And I won't go into too much detail there because it really is depressing, but they took all the rings and watches and whatever else off the bodies and labelled them. Yeah, to get back to Patrice, those earlier pictures. His baby was never found, but his wife's remains were found about 3 months later by, what do you call it?
DNA.
DNA, yeah, DNA, yeah. So that was how that happened. A very sad story. There's more to it than that, but we haven't got time. Whoops. That's after Phuket, we travelled to Banda Aceh, and Banda Aceh was absolutely 100 times worse than Phuket. That's my journalist, Sue Boniface, while we were covering the story. She burst into tears amongst all the wreckage. There's a story about how he got there, but we haven't got time to go into that. But if you go onto the internet, my story about it is there. On Instagram, actually, you can find pictures and the story.
He's got a great, just for all the viewers out there, there's a conspicuous silence, actually, but I don't think that's because no one's listening. I think it's because it's kind of, but he's got a great website. So if you just Google Brian's name and
Brian Cassey, photographer.
Yep. Cassey, up it comes. And let me tell you, it's worth a view.
Yeah, this is a general view of Banda Aceh. And this, actually, I took this picture, I didn't know, but just about every photographer that got to Banda Aceh took a picture from the same spot, which is really bizarre.
God.
Some of the most famous photographers on the planet. There you go. This was one of the most telling photographs. I tossed whether to put this one in, but soon as it got published in newspapers around the planet, I think I should. I was taking that previous picture and I got a little tap on the back, and it was a local. He said, "Yeah, careful." Well, he didn't say it. He just pointed down, and I nearly fell over these feet, which were the feet of a child that was still there in the wreckage. And it's probably about enough of that one.
Yeah, I get it.
This is one of the survivors. There was a big thing about children losing their parents, and this child was in a refugee camp.
And there's you in the eyes again.
Yeah, very, very observant of you. Yeah, you mentioned the Lockhart River plane crash, so I chucked these in. This was at the memorial service in Cairns. And these images, I was the only photographer in there because it was a pool situation.
Yeah.
And these images were my first Walkley, which was a regional Walkley. Not a big one, a regional Walkley.
That's trad.
It was the most touching
situation
I've been in.
Family in trad.
Right. Something a little lighter. The Mount Isa Rodeo, which I covered a couple of times, but
before we go on to that, because like
you want to get back to PTSD, do you?
Well, not just that. Like it's not PTSD. Like it's kind of going something like it's how do you handle it? I mean, I've got me and the coppers, like we've got ways that we handle vicarious trauma and real trauma. Like,
It's funny if you go back if you go back to the tsunami in the Boxing Day tsunami, it's a strange situation. We were in Phuket. We were staying in the Marriott. The media was staying in the Marriott, and then the Marriott was between Phuket and Koh Lak. And Phuket got smashed, Koh Lak got smashed, but the Marriott in the middle didn't. It got a little bit of extra water in the pool. All the media was staying there. And it was telling. Media would be out all day. They'd get back late afternoon, early evening. They'd all be absolutely knackered. And you saw the difference in how the days had affected various people. You know, some were totally devastated and empty. Others sat down, had a drink and a natter, you know, and it was just really bizarre. And even after the tsunami, various people different people acted in different ways. And I knew of hardened Fleet Street journalists, been around for decades and seen everything, that were totally devastated by that tsunami. I felt guilty because I didn't have nightmares and I could sleep and stuff like that. And I don't know why that is. You know, I don't know. I think journalists are a little bit worse affected than photojournalists are. Photojournalists look through the camera, look through this little hole, they compose a picture, and that's their job. You know, and I think they live with it a little bit better than journalists do. That's my theory.
No, I think there's something in that. It's like all the like the people in the coppers who actually get exposed to the most horrific stuff are the scenes of crime guys.
Yeah, for sure.
They go to everything.
Mm.
You know? And mate, they'll go to, you know, as a uniformed general duties guy, or like when I was in plain clothes, you might go to, you know, 1-2 horrific things in a shift, in a week. But mate, they'd go like 2 or 3. Like if it's happening, they're going there and they're up close. Like, you know, they're scraping. They're not just taking happy snaps.
Obviously, some people develop mechanisms. You know, and that's all I can say really. And whether that mechanism is conscious or subconscious, I don't know. But some people have developed mechanisms.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that. Mate, look, what would you say to 20-year-old you? Like if you could kind of we'll flick over to go forward and flick over to that because you had the rodeo. Oh. You're going the wrong way.
Yeah, we'll come to that again. You ask that question a little bit later as well. Yeah, I think we'll come to that. Okay. Rodeos usually provide good pictures because that's what they are. But this one I thought was exceptional. It's one of those pictures that you almost die for. Luckily, the cowboy didn't get hurt. The 4 hooves landed all around him. The thing I like best about the picture is the kid picking his nose up on the top right.
I didn't see that till then. He's going for that nose gold right there.
He's going for the nose. It's a little something, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little something a little bit different.
Forget about Andani, man. That guy's a miner right there.
Right. Cyclones. Back home. We're going back home now. That's Innisfail, obviously. That's Innisfail during the middle of Cyclone Larry. I was staying at a little hotel. I took this from the little hotel, which became an even smaller hotel because half of it was destroyed in the cyclone. There you go. That half is still there, but it's up for sale. In the middle of the cyclone is where you wanted to be. And as soon as the cyclone weakened, you were out there. And I'm just going to skip through these. It's a resident in a drenched home.
Wow. Let's look at the expression.
We had a chopper for the entire day. I don't think that would happen these days. News interests don't have that money to have a chopper for an entire day.
No.
But there's two persons in that.
Yeah, look at them.
I've got lots of images like this one. I only chose one.
But you can see him.
Yeah.
Put your arrow on him so people, in case someone missed it. Oh, that's okay. Keep going.
Yeah, there's a clean up. Destroyed house.
Like I always try and maintain.
Oh,
I always try and maintain a bit of a professional distance with people who have been victims and stuff. But like,
can't do that. Oh, we're coming to the special. Well, I know what you're going to say now. When we get to Yassi, there's the two brothers. The image is there, and we'll talk about what you're going to ask now. I think about
he's psychic. He knows where I'm going.
I am psychic. Yeah,
This guy's psychic.
Keep that thought. Right.
It's probably the Shiraz, listeners. It's probably the
Yeah,
Shiraz.
no, the Shiraz is great. Yeah. This lady, she was one of the faces of the cyclone. She's Matilde. Fabulous lady. And actually, I went to see her only a few months ago when Cyclone Kimi was really its ugly head. And although I've been back and met her 3 or 4 times, when I went back this time, her daughter said she died, just died.
Yeah.
Which is really sad. But she was one of the faces of the cyclone. But this was the major face of the cyclone. As soon as the cyclone weakened, I went up to the hospital and followed the first ambulance that left through the wreckage of Innisfail, and we turned up at this house, and Kate Charleston was her name. Yeah, she, in the middle of the night, she crawled out of the wreckage of her house, which collapsed around her. This was very early in the morning, and she didn't mind being in this picture. She's slightly cleaned up, but not very much. She's got cuts all over the place from frying debris and etc.
Sweet God, head wounds bleed too.
Yeah, that went all around the planet, that picture, and Kate got fed up with the phone calls and eventually left in his file. Where she is now. There you go, and that's how it was used on the front page of the Courier Mail. Larry's Fury. Okay, I've done a lot of work in Indigenous communities up Cape York and down south and further west. And we'll go through these pretty quickly, but I enjoy working in Indigenous communities, and I have a lot of respect for them. I think they respect me when I'm there, which is great. This is
that Arakoon or Lockhart?
That's Arakoon. That's Arakoon. That was for a story on Fairfax in their magazine.
Oh yeah.
It was about the raw state that Arakoon was in at the time, and it was really rough then. This was a fair few years ago.
Yeah, I did 3 stints there.
Yeah, that was the cover picture from the magazine. This was taken in Urandangi, Western Queensland, which is a little Indigenous town that has one substantial building, which is the pub, which is post office, and everything, store, everything. And the people there live in either humpies or broken down caravans like this one. And it really is no hope. It's a really sad place. This is one of the children walking alone on the road into the community. And that's another one with the caravan, and the children sleeping on a mattress. There's about half a dozen children sleeping on a mattress in the middle. It's back to Arakoon again, and these children should have been at school. It was taken for a story on truancy and the low attendance at Arakoon School, which was down about ridiculous in amount. Tommy George, one of my favourite Indigenous characters, a wonderful, wonderful man that sadly passed away about 4 or 5 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, I can't remember. He was a tracker. He was a legend, and I used to enjoy spending time sitting listening to him. I used to take packets of his favourite log cabin tobacco and sit down and listen to him without taking any pictures. Wonderful gentleman.
Yeah.
And the blue eyes are because of cataracts, by the way.
Yeah, I was acquainted with him, actually.
Were you?
Yeah, I met him in Arakoon. I also worked with Barry Port.
Oh yeah. I think I've photographed Barry as well.
I was his last officer in charge.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, hang on.
Dan's a legend.
Yeah. We'll talk about police officers. I know Chris Early.
Yeah, so do I.
I knew him pretty well. In fact, I knew him very well. He was going out with one of my friends. Girlfriend. Yeah. Ex-girlfriend.
Yeah. Man, mate.
We'll talk about that one offline because I've got some stories to tell about Chris.
Yeah, well, we can swap them because I'm not best mates with Chris, but I know him. Yeah, look, we are acquainted.
This was taken in Napranum near Wigger.
Yep.
Just that's the kids in what used to be their school. Mona outside Coranda.
Oh yeah.
Was, abandoned by the missionaries to its fate, and at one stage was going to be destroyed, but it's still there now. And this is back to Napranum. That was taken for a story in the Australian about Indigenous aging, and how I had the task of working out how to illustrate it. That's her great grandchild. Oh, wrong way. That's Mona again in a humpy. And Mossman living in a wrecked house. Anyway, that's enough of those. Oh no, we got another one. Where's that one? Kawanyama.
That's a great photograph.
Yeah. Teaching his sons the old ways on the salt pans. Right, now we're on the site on Yassi again. This one I thought was quite funny. Louis Vuitton's windows all taped up. That was one of the first images. Palm trees in the background before. This was in the cyclone centre at Earlville, which turned into a cyclone centre. Packed, and it was almost a riot when they brought water in. Again, when the cyclone finished, jumped into a helicopter, landed at what was her name? Rebecca, I think it was Rebecca. Landed at her house in Mission Beach, and she was going through the wreckage. And eventually, just as I was leaving, I got this picture. She'd been really joking and mucking around, and I said my goodbyes and turned around, and she burst into tears. And that was the finalist in the Moran Contemporary Photography Prize. Actually, it was second, I think. Yeah, I think it was second. There you go.
I think that's it. It's all about capturing the emotion. It's not actually
it is, isn't it? I mean, but sometimes you don't. This picture was at Hull Heads. It was just an empty house, but the picture of the family photo on the wall up the top brings humanity to the situation. I feel, anyway. And the phone dangling off the hook.
Yeah. Over
there, etc. This brings a certain humanity. It's a different look. You know, this is destructions of broken glasses, broken plates. There's a squashed chalice on the left-hand side. Just little things that broken cups.
Can you give us some basic tips about how to take a good photograph?
No, everybody will do it then. What do you want to know?
Well,
I can't tell you that really. I mean, you've either got an eye or you haven't. And I know people that take pictures on a phone and you think they're good. They should pick up a proper camera. And there's other people that take pictures on the phone and you think there's no hope. You just, either you got it or you haven't. That's my theory anyway. I don't think you can learn it. It's an eye. Now, you were talking about getting close to people. Now, this is one of the Wickerson brothers. And we landed at Hull Heads. Their house was completely stuffed. And went over to introduce ourselves and he broke into tears. Actually, his brother's just behind his shoulder, but yeah. And we spent some time embracing them and talking to them. It was one of those situations where you feel, you feel you have to do it. You have to show the human side, but you think, am I ever going to get a photograph? And I've got lots of work to do. It's the biggest day ever, and it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. But that's the picture of the brothers embracing in front of their house.
Oh, look at that.
And they were wonderful. They were wonderful. They were trying to, be brave, etc., etc. They realised why we were there. And they realised we needed to be there. And they were great. And I made a decision then, which I usually try and do, that I'm going to go back and see them over and again. Every chance I get, go back and visit them. And you try and do that. It's not always possible, especially if you're overseas or anything, or even the other side of Australia. But locally, I went back to see these brothers over a period of over a year, or like 2 years actually. During each period of their development, the next picture, their brothers came up from down south and spent time with them in the wreck of their house, etc., etc. So I went to see them then, and I went to see them when they laid the foundations for their new house, and I went to see them when their house was finished, etc., etc. So you try to keep in touch. So that, I think, answers the question about being close. A lot, and there'll be more like that later with Carol, the burn survivor, and etc. You keep in touch. Can I move on?
Oh, please do. Yeah.
Cool.
Quick as you like.
Oh, we're running out of time, are we? Right.
Yeah. we're over time. Mate, we normally only go for an hour, and mate, we're way over time, but let's keep going.
Right, okay. Cyclone Yassi. That's one of the pics of the cyclone. All the yachts smashed up against and into some of the houses there. Oh, wrong way. That's a flattened house on Bachari Island. I'm really proud of this one, because this is where the pool was on Dunk Island, the famous butterfly pool. And that's that's how it looked after the cyclone. Now I knew I'd seen a picture from exactly the same spot of the pool when it was in its heyday. So I rang up the Courier Mail and said, "Look, I'm pretty sure there's a picture there on file of this pool from the same spot." And they said, "Right, we'll find it." And that was the next day's front page, which I was really, really rapt. It's exactly the same spot. So I was quite pleased with myself about that one. There you go.
Wow.
Carol. That's Carol when she was a young mum, the burns victim.
Yeah.
Not long after that, she was burnt in the house fire, and her family was told she wouldn't survive. She did. It took an entire year of operations and skin grafts. And I met her a few years later. And after I spent a few hours with her and eventually made this image. It took a while because I was worried about getting that close. This image won awards around the planet. Lots. But the most important thing it did was it proved to Carol herself that she was beautiful. She worked out, she gained confidence from this photo shoot. And she told me that on various occasions that, I gave her, and after that, she started working for Burns Foundation and advocating other burns victims and trying to give them the confidence to do whatever they wanted to do. Right. So that was an important photograph for me and for her. This was taken on the second shoot, which took me years to ask Carol if she'd do it. I had this idea of shooting her, showing more of her skin and more of her scars, but I didn't have the I didn't have the confidence to do it. I showed lack of confidence then, and eventually it was eating me away. And I rang her and said, "Carol, can we do this?" And she said, after a while, she said, "Yeah, we can." So we made this image as well, and this was shown in the National Portrait Gallery in Canberra.
Well, mate, it is. It's just seriously, that kind of work is stunning, and yeah, because she was a model. She had a modeling career.
For the fire, yeah.
Or she'd won some sort of beauty award somewhere.
She won a beauty award. She did.
That's it.
It was very early. She wasn't a model, but she did win a beauty award.
Yeah, beauty award.
That's and they laughed about it. They thought it was really funny. Yeah. So that's in short about Carol. She had a great. She had a great impact on me and on my life, to be brutally honest. And it was tragic when she succumbed to cancer. After going through all this, she succumbed to cancer last year. Yeah.
We've just had a comment. It's not a question really. But yeah, I've just had Jabaroo acknowledge that she was a rather close friend of her, and she just wishes me to pass on thanks. So
no need to thank me. Thank Carol. She's still listening. Overseas, yes. Now we talked about the cage home images earlier on.
Yep.
I was asked to exhibit those in Gwangju in South Korea, Gwangju Design Biennale. And whilst I was over there, I made this picture at the Design Biennale, which still really strikes me. It's still one of my favourite pictures. It's like a puzzle. I like it. I thought I'd better show it. I won't explain it to you. You have to work it out yourself. Oh, keep going the wrong way. Sorry.
Right.
Whilst in South Korea, I found out the story about many, many hundreds of homeless that were living in the Seoul railway station complex who were going to be evicted. They've been there for years. So I took that on as a picture story. And this is a young child who was running through the underpass when he spotted a homeless man preparing his cardboard box of the night, which is another one of my favourite images. There's a few more here. Not an uncomfortable way to be. Actually, just as a thought, station authorities eventually gave up trying to evict them. They tried, but they gave up, and they're still there now.
Yeah. We've got about 133.
Oh, well, there's not that many to go then. Right, coffin homes. Now we got to cage homes. Back to Hong Kong. I found out I got a message that cage homes were a bit passe, and now they got coffin homes, which were the same size but with solid walls and up to 40 a room to maximise.
Passe. Let's go. It's a coffin.
Yeah, it's a coffin. Yeah, so these people are living in coffin. The guy down the bottom couldn't even lie full length in his home.
Right.
Also, this is on the top of a skyscraper. They were building little villages on top of skyscrapers. And this is just one of them. I mean, they do get cyclones or hurricanes in Hong Kong. It wouldn't have lasted 2 seconds. And this is the sort of thing they were living in. They also had other sorts of homes which weren't coffin homes and weren't cage homes. They were just same size, but just as many people. And this was taken then. But Hong Kong had a lighter side, and we're going to go through these quickly. While I was there doing the coffin homes, I found out about a fishing village called, oh God, I can't remember it. I can't remember the name of the fishing village. I'm sorry.
Anyway,
but they're mad keen on dogs, and they have dogs, dog bakeries. They don't bake dogs, they make bake things for dogs. Everybody takes their dogs down the promenade every Sunday. They have doggy boutiques. The dogs are out in restaurants, and it made a great story which ran in The Guardian of these pampered pooches in restaurants.
Bakeries just for dogs. That's the economy's way of saying you got too much money.
Yeah.
That and dog psychologists.
Yeah, exactly.
Canine psychologists. It's like, no, I'm sorry, as a society, you've got too much money.
Yeah, exactly. And they really treated it. It's got, and I came up with the story about the dogs were replacing children when the British, when the British went into Hong Kong. It had one of the highest birth rates on the planet, and they decided this can't continue. So they tried to decrease the birth rate, and the birth rate in Hong Kong is now bugger all. And so they've replaced children with dogs, and they get treated like children.
Yeah,
that's a good little story.
Same thing's happening over here, and in Europe, Japan.
Yeah.
Japan has negative growth. Oh, that's got to be
right. India. We'll get to India because can't miss India. Right. This was taken in India. I went over there with a couple of my colleagues. We aimed to do a trip around certain parts of India in an ambassador taxi before they all disappeared. This was taken in Jaipur, where we enjoyed the Holi festival in real homes, in real suburbs. It was fabulous, absolutely fabulous. One of my best days of my life. This was in Jodhpur, where we weren't invited to, but we joined a wedding party. One of my favorite images. And in Udaipur, it's a slow shutter speed picture of traditional dancers. And that won an award in San Francisco, where I later judged. Actually, that was third, and the picture of Carol was the winner. This is one of my favourite ever images. That's on the banks of Varanasi, on the banks of the Ganges, drying their saris. I just heard that you can't do that anymore. They banned it. God knows why.
Why would you ban sari drying?
I don't know. It's really weird. You can go and bathe in the bloody Ganges, which is full of flipping
diseases, bodies and floating bodies.
But you can't dry. Apparently, you can't dry your sari.
Yeah. You are not to be drying your sari. Oh no.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
That's I know him. That's
Bruce Martin.
That's Bruce Martin. Yeah.
Yeah, Bruce Martin. I'll tell you a little bit more about Bruce. Bruce was the driving force behind this mustering arc put on Gunton Stockman in outside of Arakan, where they mustered thousands of head of wild cattle to sell to market. It was an indigenous venture, right? Which Bruce was the driving force. This is one of a series of 6 pictures of him falling off. Jack.
I was going to say, because his foot's out of the stirrup there, you can see.
Yeah, the reins broke. His foot.
He's in more trouble than Flash Gordon.
They went head over heels across the top, and I just managed to get it the entire series. And he jumped up and said, "You're not going to use that, are you?" I said, "Yeah, I am."
Oh yeah, of course I am.
And the series from this mustering thing, the Australian loved it, and they used about 26 pictures in one edition of the newspaper, which I think is still a record. We'll just run quickly through some of them.
He'd have to be a younger porter. He's got to be.
Yeah, he was young. He was learning from the elders, the indigenous elders.
No, but looking at him, he'd be a younger porter.
I can't remember. He probably was, yeah.
Yeah, he'd be a younger porter for sure.
Yeah, but the helicopter mustering was scary as I was in another chopper doing this, and it was like, oh Christ, getting pictures was drama. But there you go. It was nearly dark as well. But while I was there, I also took portraits of the entire team. I just felt it needed to be done. It was a mixture of Indigenous and white fella, and they all worked together so well as a team. And I took pictures of all of them. I can't show you all of them, but I'll show you some.
Yeah.
They were taken just in front of a dirty old caravan as they came from the
I know him.
Yeah. I've forgotten his name offhand, but that was a finalist in the Kuala Lumpur Portrait Prize.
You don't know him.
We'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
These are the daughters of the one of the stockmen. I did a story in Papua New Guinea about
She's a
the
pup.
sex industry and the treatment of women over there, off my own back again. This was my favourite portrait from that time. She was a disco Mary, a bar girl.
Yeah.
And I just loved the face, and I took that picture inside one of the clubs. And eventually I took back a picture for a copy. That was a finalist in the Head-On Portrait Prize.
And what city is that? Is that Moresby or?
That's in Moresby, yeah.
Yeah, Moresby.
Yeah. When I went back to find her, she wasn't working again because she just had a kid and she was a single parent. But somebody in the club said, "Oh, go get her." So I gave them the money for a taxi, and they went and I brought her back to the club, and I gave them a picture. This picture. She was really rad. Changed person, actually. She was a mum then. She looked a lot softer.
You don't remember what suburb that was, eh?
Oh, God, no.
I lived in Barocco. Sorry, like we should just flip flow. So I'm getting.
No, it wasn't in Barocco. It's farther out near on the way to the airport. I can't remember the name of the club, but yeah, right. I'll tell you privately. Right. Oh, one of my favourite portraits. Beef Barons. We were myself and my journalist Peter Michael from the Courier Mail were sent to do a story on cattle up at Daintree, and I'll never believe I get this. This couple run. This is while the rest of Australia is in drought, and this couple at Daintree had metre-high grass and the fattest cows you've ever seen in your entire life, and they'd had rain almost every day for an entire year. So it was called them Beef Barons. Wonderful couple. However, Peter, my journalist, wanted a picture of them looking happy, and I didn't. I wanted a picture of them looking exactly like that. So we had a bit of a barney. I won. And that won a couple of awards as well. And, you know, they loved the people in it loved it. So that was great. Cool.
What is that really famous American painting?
Gothic.
It's American Gothic, yeah. It's the Australian version of American Gothic.
That look. Yeah, exactly what I was after, American Gothic, yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to bring that up.
If you don't, because it's not really much like it. It's just holding, yeah.
It kind of is, dude. Come on, what's the matter with you?
It's a little like it, but not a lot.
Oh, it jolly well is. Just stop sharing for a moment.
Oh, get on.
I'll bring it up. Have a swig of Chardonnay. I have a swig of Shiraz.
That was a finalist in the bonus prize in Melbourne. Yeah.
That's great. Stop sharing. Yes. Okay. Yep. Okay, hang on. I'm just going to bring mine up.
It's your time. You're the one.
So there is American Gothic, ladies.
See, it's nothing like it.
It jolly well is. You don't need. Okay, so bring your happy snaps back up.
Oh God, now you've done it, haven't you? Where's it gone?
Oh, I've done it.
You've done it.
Use a computer and somehow.
Hang on, share screen.
If this goes back, I will kill you.
Where are we? Now what have you done?
Oh, what have I done? It was a you know what and you know where with $50 in your hand.
Hang on. Better. Right. Thank you. Okay, number 55. I was driving down the road in Cairns towards the airport and drove past this house in Aeroglen.
Okay, can't see it.
Oh, bugger. See, now I have to share it again, don't I? Hold on.
Yeah, you do.
Right. Share. How do we do this again? Zoom. Stop mucking about.
I'm not. You just go to share.
You did muck about. Is it going now?
No, just the screen. Yeah, a bit of a lag. Just bring up the actual. I can't see the actual happy snap, but I can see your screen. You're the one mucking about on the screen.
Right, hang on.
That's it. Okay, yeah. Mouse. That's it.
Connection lost. Hang on, my mouse is gone.
No, it's good. I've got the burning house. Tell me about the burning house.
I've got the share thing in front of it. Hang on.
No, it's okay. I can hear you and see it.
Right, number 55. Driving past it, saw there's flames coming out of that place. How weird. So I took some pictures of it before the police got there, before the fire brigade got there. before everybody got there. And that ended up as a finalist in the Moran, which is, and a couple of other places actually, and the couple of awards in Perth, which I was really pleased about. Really pleased about. Anyway,
That's great.
I've got a problem here with my mousey baby.
Okay, well, mate, what we might do is I'll hit you with one more question and we'll wrap it up, actually.
Oh, come on, you've got some of the best ones, like your ginger girl we haven't got yet.
Oh.
What are we up to? What number are we up to? Do you know?
No, I can't count. All right. Like I'm at.
Hold on. Oh, better. Right, hang on.
So if you can talk and do that stuff at the same time, if you could go back, what would you say to 20-year-old photography you?
What would I say to what?
20-year-old
20-year-old
photography you.
photographer. Think someone else to do, probably. There's not much money left in this game, and I can't get out of this screen now. If you expect to do photography for money in the future, I don't like your prospects or chances, but by all means, if you're really keen and really pushy and really determined, don't listen to me.
Okay. And mate, the other thing is, like, you're at a pretty high level now, but did you ever have self-doubt? Was there ever a time you were going, you went, this is not for me, I don't want to do this anymore? Did that ever happen?
Yeah, constantly. It happens every week. I'm a freelance photographer.
So what do you do to keep going?
I'll sit around half the time thinking, why isn't the phone ringing? And the trick is not to worry about it. That's basically what the trick is. I've been a freelancer my entire life. I've never been on staff. It can be traumatic. You've still got to pay the bills, etc., etc. But don't get the flipping hernia over it, sort of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
I haven't got many more to go. If you want to keep going, it's entirely.
No, I do want to keep going, so that's a yes from me. But you're going to have to talk. Cool. You're going to have to talk and click, and I'm going to ask. Right,
right over Black Mountain. I was on a plane between here and Cooktown to do a job. Looked out the window, had a long lens, saw this. Thought that's a nice picture, and took a few frames during the flight, at the end of the flight, and that was a finalist in the Moran Contemporary Photography Prize too, much to my surprise, actually. Kushti, that's a wrestling in India. Due to my my picture editor Mumbai friend, we got into a Kushti wrestling practice session. I was given about 15 minutes. Took plenty of photographs, and that's just one of them. You
wouldn't mess with that guy, man.
And that's a second one, which the girls seem to like for some reason. I don't know why. Sorcery in Papua New Guinea. I was had to do a story for News Limited on sorcery in Papua New Guinea, which is incredible. Sorcery is just a way of getting your own way and being really cruel to members of your community. And this woman was nearly killed by her village people who, for various reasons, thought she was a sorceress, and they burned her with hot irons and all over her body and broke her arm. That was just one of the pictures that I took during that little trip to Goroka in Papua New Guinea.
No, it's a big problem up in the Cape now too.
Yeah.
Sorcery. It's a serious.
It's not all bad news. Though. Sometimes you get a decent job. And I was given the opportunity to work for a film company on a men's strip group, working in Cairns it was for their part of their documentary they were working on, which name I can't remember now. But these are Cairns girls preparing to go to what's the nightclub in Cairns? The one with the big swimming pool. That one.
Yeah.
You know the one. Anyway.
I'm 50, dude.
This is one of the male dancers readying himself for the show. And during the show, the girls get dragged up on stage and get treated to, if you can call it treated, it was a bit of an eye-opener for me. They get woman-handled, if you like, and the men encouraged the other way around too.
Well, she seems to be enjoying it. It's not for me to judge.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed it. Yeah, all the girls enjoyed it. None of them went up there involuntary. I do like the pistol in this one. I don't know what it was doing there, but there you go. It's, I don't know if it was loaded or used. It certainly wasn't used. I'd have heard it. That's the clientele at the end of the show.
They got less clothes on than him.
I know. That was what was most.
How does that work?
Remarkable.
What's going on with that?
That was what was right. I'm only showing you the pictures I feel I can show you.
Yeah, no, it's all right.
Others.
It's a family show. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly. Right. This is one of my recent favourites. This was taken at the Black Lives Matter march on the Esplanade in Cairns, and this is Hermela. She's a US citizen, and she was one of the people lying prostrate on the ground for the 8 minutes and 46 seconds that it took the police officer to kill George Floyd in America
terrible.
and spark demonstrations around the planet. Yeah. And she shed tears, and you can see one tear in one eye and a little tear sitting below the other eye. It was very poignant, and it's one of my favourite latest images. Yeah. Oh, wrong way again. And this is one of your favourites. This is one of my this is one of my muses, one of my collective muses, not just mine. There's a little group here that take pictures occasionally of in a little studio shed. And I love this. This one's called Asking the Question. I don't know if you can work out why, but Bon is a vibrant, curious young lady, and she never shuts up talking, asking questions. And it just struck me that the hair looks like a question mark, and that's why it's called that.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Now that, in brief, is the story behind that picture. All right? You're intrigued now, aren't you?
Moving right along.
Right. Oh, wrong way again.
Wrong way, dude.
Right. So this was taken in Cairns at the Pan Pacific Para Games. Japanese swimmer lost both his arms at birth, and that's him on the starting block, greeting the setting sun as he stills himself for the start of his race, which he won, by the way. That won several prizes as well. Oh, and Kate, amazing story. She had breast cancer 9 years ago now. She had a double mastectomy. This is one of the bravest ladies I've known. She was told she'd have breast reconstruction 9 years ago. It never happened. She was on the hospital waiting list. And early in 2020, the Sunday Mail ran a campaign to reduce hospital waiting lists, which were massive. And they asked me to see what I could get of Kate. And I arranged to meet Kate, and we had a chat, and she said, "What would you like?" And I said, "Well, to be brutally honest, Kate, I'd like pictures of you showing the results of your mastectomy." And she said, "Okay." And she's a wonderful woman, brave woman. And we took this image and lots of others. It was run on the front page of the Sunday Mail. The Queensland government saw it and fast-tracked waiting lists and whacked several $1 million into reducing waiting lists. Kate had to wait 6 months longer than normal because of COVID-19, but has since started the series of operations that will, as she said, make her a woman again. And I've had the greatest admiration for this lady, and I think everybody else should too.
Quite so.
That's it.
Okay.
That's it, folks. These are just quick images that got me my portfolio, that made the finalists of the Walkley Press Photographer of the Year Awards. There you go. Done.
Mate, that was great. And
That wasn't that bad, was it?
no, it's fantastic. What do you like about Cairns? What's a good English boy like you doing living here? Like,
The best place to live on the planet. That's why. Certainly
Yeah.
the best place in Australia. That's for sure.
if you could stop sharing, so I can.
Sorry.
Oh.
Stop sharing, then you'll be able to see my silly face.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. You really want to do that, do you?
Yeah, I do.
I don't. There you go. Cool.
So, mate, okay, so you love North Queensland, and you still this too. That's like you've done all these amazing, award-winning, world-changing stuff, and mate, you still get out and do happy snaps for the local community and stuff.
Don't call. I told you not to call them happy snaps.
Sorry, you go out and take.
Photographers hate that. They hate that with a passion.
Oh,
We work hard on all these images, and you go and call them happy snaps.
Do harden up, Brian. There's a good.
Bloody hell! Bloody hell! Yeah.
No, but you do. You go out and take these photographs of, in the community and stuff like that, just for the support stuff. I think
every time you go away, and I do go to some fabulous places. I'm really fortunate. Really fortunate. Go to some fabulous places. Work hard at it as well. But whenever you fly back into Cairns, you see the mountains and you think, I'm home.
Yeah.
That's why I live in Cairns.
Good on you, mate. Well, look, on that, we're going to wrap it up. Mate, Brian, thank you very much.
Did anybody last the entire length?
Mate, yeah. And yeah, mate, we're getting some love. So,
Good.
all right, I've got another photographer on there going, don't say happy snaps, okay? So I'm getting some
Don't.
Mea culpa, mea maximum culpa. All the photographers out there, okay? I didn't mean, I get called a pig, so, meh. So, yeah. But look, thank you very much to everyone for kind of staying with us. It really has been cool. Thanks very much for the ongoing encouragement I'm getting. It really is cool. Everybody, please like and share this interview. If you want Brian's work to be out in the world, I do, you do, we all do. Like and share. That's not going to happen without you. I really need your help with that. Please encourage your friends to do the same. I'm actually finding through my metrics that if you share and say, please share, and if you say something you liked about the interview, it gets a lot more hits. So if you're serious about getting it out there, share it and say, I particularly liked the whatever it is about this interview you like. Look, big thanks to Andrew Cummings, Bill Bates, and the rest of the Brisbane mob, without whom Northern Vibe simply wouldn't have happened. Big g'day to Pat and Nikki McLaughlin at Bad Fishy. Bad Fishy is a great little local business who need and deserve our support. I'm not getting any money from them, if in case anyone asks. Big g'day to Monique Oddmark, who's a mate of mine too. I'm not getting any money of this. She's an ex-copper, mate of mine. She's running a property stage company. She does a little bit of real estate on the side, so support her. She's a fantastic little local business. Final big g'day to Belinda Wallace, who runs Hello World Travel and who does art. She's on Facebook, so Google Belinda Wallace. You'll find her on this as well. Again, thank you very much to all the supporters out there, you vibers. It's been absolutely fantastic. Brian, I will get you to stay on for another second. I just want to have a quick chat to you off air, but it's been a great interview, and I sincerely hope we see you next week. By the way, on that, I've got some really, really cool guests coming up. I've got Bluey O'Gorman, who used to be the police union boss during the Fitzgerald inquiry years. He's coming on. He's going to tell us all about that. I've got Anthony Dillon, who's a respected Indigenous academic. He's coming on in the next couple of weeks. I don't know if I'll announce that just yet, actually, but I've got a very interesting lady who's coming on in the next couple of weeks, and she knows who she is. I suspect she's looking at this. But,
She knows who she is.
Coming up closer, I'll really advertise the heck out of that. But thanks very much. See you next week.